Billionaire's son haunted for 8 months. The Maid's dark secret will shock you forever. The mansion loomed like a dark secret over the quiet town of Alder Creek. It was built on a cliff, overlooking a turbulent sea that seemed to howl with the memories of those who vanished. Inside, young Ethan Sinclair, heir to an empire worth billions, couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. For 8 long months, the shadows had crept around him, whispering secrets only he could hear, the kind of secrets that chilled his bones and tightened his chest. Every night, he heard it. The scratching, like fingernails clawing at the walls. It began after his father's untimely death. The maid, Rosa, who had been by their side since he was a boy, whispered warnings only to him. Her dark eyes were pools of sorrow, and her voice trembled with a weight that made Ethan's heart race. Was she hiding something? There was a change in her too, like she had awoken from a nightmare that refused to vanish. Then there were the photos. Old, dusty snapshots found in the attic, faded images of his mother dancing with a man who wasn't his father. Something in her smile felt wrong. The way her eyes sparkled, they screamed a hidden truth. Every time Ethan stumbled upon those pictures, the room grew colder, shadows flickering behind him like they were alive. He could feel a lump rising in his throat, panic gnawing at his insides. Ethan's friends had called him crazy. They laughed when he mentioned the whispers, the dark corners that seemed to breathe. Get over it. They joked, oblivious to the icy dread that wrapped around him each night. The whole town buzzed with tales of the Sinclair fortune and the curse that came with it. Nothing went untouched by tragedy. It made people gasp, but no one really knew. They only imagined. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the sun set, painting the sky with bruised colors, Ethan's phone buzzed violently. Unfamiliar numbers. He stared at it, heart racing. What if it was Rosa? What if she had finally decided to share the truth behind those haunted walls? Just as he reached for the device, a loud crash echoed from downstairs, splintering the thick silence. Fear flooded his veins. He bolted down the staircase, each step resonating like thunder. What had he disturbed? What secret was about to unravel, threatening to swallow him whole? Ethan stumbled into the darkened foyer, his pulse pounding in his ears. The cold air scraped against his skin, sending shivers down his spine. Each creak of the ancient floorboards echoed like a countdown, urging him to move faster. The layout of the mansion had never felt so threatening. Shadows loomed ominously, stretching and warping as though they were alive. Hello. He called, his voice barely more than a whisper. The absence of response sent a jolt of dread through him. What had made that sound? It felt like the house itself was breathing, waiting, watching. That he turned the corner and saw it, an overturned vase shattered on the floor, water pooling around the ceramic shards like the sorrow of 1,000 memories. He crouched down, fingers trembling as they brushed against the jagged edges. Had Rosa been here? Did she know of something unfolding beyond his comprehension? At that moment, he heard it again, the unmistakable scratching. It was closer. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A glimpse of a figure cloaked in shadows, ducking into one of the rooms at the end of the hallway. Panic gripped him, but curiosity burned hotter. He stalked forward, each step a silent plea for the shadows to reveal their secrets. As he approached, hesitating just outside the door, he heard whispers. They were hurried and frantic, 2 voices intermingling in a desperate exchange. It was Rosa, but who was she speaking to? Ethan's heart pounded louder. He needed to know. He pressed his ear against the door, every fiber of his being urging him to listen, to understand. You can't keep it from him forever. Rosa's voice trembled. The truth will come out. It always does. The air thickened with tension. Ethan's mind raced. Was she warning someone? Protecting him? Or was she a part of something darker than he had imagined? He gripped the knob, ready to burst in, but doubt paralyzed him. What if he learned something he couldn't unlearn? Before he could find the resolve, the door swung open. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a face he knew all too well. It was his mother, or at least, a specter of the woman he had once known. Her hair was disheveled, a look of panic on her face that sent a surge of ice through his veins. She looked at him, recognition dawning, then fear. "Ethan. You mustn't. What are you doing here? What is going on?" He surged forward, desperation clawing at him. "Ethan, please. I can explain." Her voice cracked. "You have to trust me." Trust? Did he ever truly trust her? Wasn't she the one who had left him with more questions than answers? But just as she took a step forward, an anguished scream pierced the air, a sound so raw and agonizing that it seemed to tear through not just the walls, but through Ethan's very soul. "Rosa!" he shouted, darting past his mother and down the hall, fear igniting every nerve ending in his body. He raced toward the source of the scream, a chilling realization dawning something deeper was happening in this mansion, and it was about to claim another victim that he burst into the parlor to find Rosa on the floor, clutching at her throat, eyes wide with horror. "Ethan! You have to leave. They're coming. They want to stop. Who is coming?" he shouted, pulse racing, but before she could answer, the lights flickered ominously, plunging them into darkness. The scratching grew louder, more insistent, as if the walls themselves urged him to flee. Suddenly, an icy gust swept through the room, and everything went silent. Ethan stood frozen, heart racing, breath hitching as dread enveloped him. The shadows shifted, forming shapes that loomed and danced, closing in from the corners of the room. Their grip tightened, he could feel the air thicken, churning with unspoken threats. The question hung in the air, aching to be answered. What was lurking just out of sight? What secrets had his family buried, that were now clawing their way back to the surface? And then, piercing through the silence, came a word. Not spoken, but felt a presence that lingered in his very bones. Ethan. Before he could process, the room began to twist, the walls throbbing with an energy he couldn't comprehend. He had no idea who, or what, was calling his name, but he knew his life was about to change forever. What awaited him just beyond the thin veil of understanding? The darkness swallowed Ethan whole, the shadows sharpening like knives poised to strike. He barely had time to breathe as a chilling whisper rolled over him again, a ghostly echo that seemed to carry the weight of agony and fear. It was as if the mansion had come alive to suffocate him with its dreadful secrets. "Ethan," the voice called again, pulling at him, an unearthly thread weaving through his consciousness. It felt like a shadow chasing him, relentless, suffocating. Then, without warning, the lights flickered back to life, harsh and blinding. The sudden brightness hurt his eyes, and when they adjusted, the room was transformed. Rosa lay still on the ground, her strangled breath barely audible. The bright light exposed the panic etched on her face, the terror that had gripped her moments before. "I told you to leave," she gasped, stretching a trembling hand toward him. "You shouldn't be here. It's too late." Ethan felt the ground shift under him. "What do you mean? What is happening?" His voice broke, panic threading through every syllable. Something terrible was brewing, a storm that might consume them both. "There is no time. They're here." Her voice was frantic, eyes darting toward the corners of the room as if she expected something dark and sinister to erupt from within them. Before he could respond, the shadows in the room began to pulse. They surged like a sentient wave, dark and hungry, creeping closer. The scratching sounds returned, louder and more insistent, as though something malicious lived just behind those walls. That he grabbed Rosa's arm, pulling her toward him, desperation coursing through his veins. "We have to get out. Now." But it was then that he noticed it, a figure manifesting in the darkness, forming from the shadows like a nightmare solidifying into reality. A woman, her pale skin shimmering under the light, her face half hidden by an unnatural darkness that clung to her like a curse. With eyes darker than midnight, she stared at Ethan, a predatory smile twisting her lips. "Ethan," she sang, the name dripping with malice, "you were never meant to be here, were you?" The woman's voice was smooth, yet it sent shivers slicing through his bones. Goosebumps erupted across his skin as he felt her gaze bore into him, dissecting his soul. Who was this? And why did she seem to know him? "Get away from him!" Rosa cried, lunging toward Ethan. But the woman merely laughed, the sound cold and echoing, filling the room with foreboding. "Your time is over, little maid." The woman's eyes flickered with wicked delight as she moved closer, shadows swirling around her like a cloak. "You can't protect him from what he must discover." "What are you talking about?" Ethan shouted, unease tightening his chest. "Rosa, what is going on?" But the words fell away, drowned by a powerful wave of darkness that enveloped the room. The air grew thick, almost solid, pushing at him like a torrential wind. His connection to reality felt tenuous, as though he was about to be swept into a void from which he could never return. "Ethan!" Rosa screamed, reaching for him, but the shadows lunged, separating them. Ethan felt himself pulled forward, against his will, stretching toward the mysterious figure. With one last glance at Rosa, his heart frantically beating, he whispered, "I want to leave you." But the shadows surged, claiming him, yanking him into the blackness that threatened to consume all. And in that moment of panic, everything around him dissipated. A vision crashed into his mind, whispers of betrayal, glimpses of a family fracture, and bloodlines entwined in darkness. Then silence, the walls of the mansion warped away, dissolving into nothingness. Where was he? Was this the end or merely a new beginning? Ethan realized with terror he was not alone. The woman was still there, perfuming the air with a sense of doom. "What do you want from me?" he demanded, heart racing, breath quickening in the absence of light. The shadows twisted around them again. "I only want to help you find the truth, but at what cost?" Ethan felt the weight of dread settle on his shoulders. Was uncovering the family legacy worth sacrificing everything he loved? The woman leaned closer, and her voice dropped to a menacing whisper, "Every secret has a price, dear Ethan. Are you ready to pay?" As the darkness thickened, the boundaries between past and present shattered, leaving him teetering on the brink of discovery and despair. What truths lurked in the void? And what darkness awaited him if he dared to seek them? Ethan's heart raced as he felt the pull of the shadows tightening around him like a vice. He could barely breathe, consumed by an overwhelming sense of dread. The house had gripped him, metaphorically and literally, pulling him deeper into its nightmarish embrace. The only steady presence was the woman before him, her smile a mockery of comfort. "Tell me," he shouted, voice cracking under the pressure of the encroaching darkness. "What do you know about my family? About my past?" The woman tilted her head, intrigue glimmering in her obsidian eyes. "Your family, Ethan, is tangled in a web thicker than you can imagine. Secrets that should have remained buried, truths that should have never been unearthed." "What do you mean?" he pressed, desperation clawing at his throat. The urgency in her voice hinted at a danger far worse than he had anticipated. "You're a pawn in a game between light and dark, a legacy of blood that carries a curse. The shadows are here because of your bloodline, and they will not rest until the truth is revealed." Ethan felt his stomach twist. His blood ran cold as he questioned her claim. "No. I refuse to believe that. My family isn't cursed. We were successful." She laughed, a sound that echoed ominously in the void. "Success can mask many things, dear. But look deeper. Can you truly ignore the whispers of the past? The fractured relationships? Your father's coldness, your mother's secrets?" Her words hit him like a punch. Memories flooded back, cold dinners filled with silence, eyes not meeting across the table, an empty nursery that had never been filled. Guilt swept over him. Had he been living in ignorance? Was he really just a pawn, as she said? Before he could process, the shadows shifted and formed a grotesque swirl around him. Threads of darkness snaked up his arms, pulling him closer to the woman. Join me, Ethan. Discover your truth. Embrace what you are, and you will gain power beyond your wildest imagination. At the edge of his mind, the fleeting image of Rosa appeared. Her frightened expression, the desperation in her voice echoed again, "It's too late. He couldn't leave her behind. He couldn't turn away now. I want to be a part of this." He yelled defiantly. "I'll find my own way." The woman's smile twisted into a frown. "You think you can escape? The shadows are everywhere, and they will always be a part of you. You are bound to them by blood." In an instant, the swirling shadows lunged forward, latching onto him. Ethan closed his eyes, ignoring the pain as they pulled him deeper into the darkness. Visions collided around him, images of betrayal and sorrow, laughter mixed with cries of desperation, all part of a tapestry that felt eerily familiar. Suddenly, he was engulfed by a guiding light, slicing through the suffocation. It broke the hold, and he was released. He tumbled onto solid ground, disoriented as the woman's laughter echoed behind him, teasing and tormenting. "Every truth revealed leads to another darkened secret, Ethan." She called after him, her voice like daggers piercing the veil of light. "Run if you must, but remember, you cannot escape your destiny." Ethan shook his head, breathing heavily and reeling from the chaos as he stepped gingerly forward. Shadows still lurked at the edges of this light, whispers curling around his ears. His mind raced with questions. Where would he find Rosa? What did she know? Was there a way to uncover the truths without losing everything? Just then, a flicker caught his eye, a door standing ajar, light spilling from the crack. Hope flooded his senses, urging him to seek it out. But just as he was about to reach for it, he froze. Was this a way out, or another trap set by the woman in the shadows? His heart pounding, he stood at the threshold of uncertainty. Would he dare to step through, risking everything for answers? Or would he condemn himself to a darkness that could never be forgotten? As he reached for the handle, the air shifted, he felt a presence behind him, chilling his spine. Ethan turned slowly, knowing his life would never be the same again. What awaited him on the other side? And who had truly been watching him all along? Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he turned to face the presence lurking in the shadows. A figure emerged, cloaked in darkness, with eyes that gleamed like polished stones. It was a man, tall and imposing, exuding a palpable aura of menace. "You shouldn't have run, boy," the man said, his voice a low growl. "The shadows are a part of you, yes, but they are also a part of your past. And I'm here to ensure that you heed their call." Ethan's instincts screamed at him to flee, but fear pinned him in place. "Who are you?" he demanded, forcing himself to sound braver than he felt. The man chuckled softly, and the laughter dripped with malice. "I am a guardian of the truth, and I know more about your family than you could ever imagine. Secrets need protection, Ethan. Ever since you were born, I've been watching. Just like your shadow." Ethan's pulse raced. "Watching? What do you want with me?" "I am here to reveal what you have been blind to. Your choices, your family's legacy, they all lead to this moment. You think you can choose to ignore it all, but the truth has a way of surfacing." The shadows seemed to pulse in response, swirling around Ethan's feet like smoke, pulling at him with invisible fingers. The air grew colder, suffocating him. The man stepped closer, the darkness now almost tangible, wrapping around them both. "Your journey is not just about you, it's about all the lives intertwined with yours. Rosa, your friends, they will suffer the consequences of your ignorance. You have the power, Ethan, but you must first confront your blood. Only then can you protect those you love." Ethan felt a wave of nausea grip him. What did this man mean? Protect whom? Rosa? Was her own life in danger because of his family's secrets? The memories, the cold dinners, the silence gnawed at him, each one a shard of ice lodged in his chest. Why now? Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Why tell me this? Because, dear boy, time is running out. The longer you hide, the stronger the shadows become. They will not only come for you but for her too. Desperation clawed at Ethan's heart. He couldn't let this happen. Where is she? He burst out, looking for any glimmer of hope in the man's harsh gaze. What do you know about Rosa? The woman in the shadows has already sent forth her minions, he said with a smirk. They crave the blood tied to the past, your blood, and if you don't confront your family's darkness, you'll lose more than just her, you'll lose yourself. Ethan shook his head, the intensity of emotions swirling inside him: fear, anger, confusion. The man stepped back, his eyes narrowing. Decide, Ethan. Will you choose to step through that door to find the truth, or remain trapped in the shadows, as they twist your family into something far more sinister? With that, a rush of wind swept through the space, thrusting Ethan toward the ajar door. It beckoned him with tantalizing light, but all he could see was the darkness curling at the edges, whispering promises of chaos and despair. He was torn, standing on the edge of a chasm with no idea which way was safe. Choose wisely, the man warned, his chilling presence receding as shadows flickered ominously. Ethan felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. The shadows had their grip around his heart. He had to know the truth. But at what cost? With one last glance at the goblin-like figure dissolving into darkness, he made a decision. Palms sweating, he reached out toward the handle of the door, heart racing. What awaited him on the other side might shatter everything he thought he knew. As he turned the handle, a shrill scream pierced the air behind him. Ethan dropped the handle, jumping back. The scream echoed in his mind, chilling him to the bone. Save her. It pleaded. But whose voice was it? And could he actually do it before it was too late? Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, thrumming like a trapped bird. The scream slashed through the silence, and he felt his entire body tense, every muscle ready to spring into action. Who was calling for him? The question screamed louder than the voice itself. Rosa, he murmured, sensing a connection deeper than words. He spun around, searching the periphery, hoping to capture a glimpse of her, desperate to find her amidst the darkness. But the shadows had shifted. They danced in a sinister rhythm, closing in on him. Ethan's mind raced with memories, laughter, stolen glances, whispered secrets. But that joyful veil ripped away as fear wrapped around him. If the man was right, if shadows were alive and lurking, they were not just threats, they were predators. Ethan, the man's voice echoed around him, chilling and smooth. Do you truly believe you can save her if you don't face the darkness yourself? The shadows are not mere phantoms, they are echoes of your very soul, reflections of your family's hidden sins. He gritted his teeth, fighting back the wave of dread threatening to wash over him. What do I need to do? There was a pause before the man stepped forward, his eyes piercing Ethan with an intensity that felt almost invasive. You must confront the curse that haunts your bloodline. You must delve into past decisions that led you here, unearthing truths long buried. Only in the darkness can you find the light to protect her. Ethan's stomach twisted. And if I fail? The words slipped out, trembling. He was suddenly aware of the fragility of all that he held dear. Then you will lose her and yourself. Ethan's breath quickened. By refusing to acknowledge his family's history, he had allowed the darkness to become stronger. But how? What did he not know? Follow the path of your ancestors, the man urged, an unsettling grin twisting his lips. It begins in the house you've avoided all your life. Dormant secrets lie there waiting to be awakened. The thought made his skin crawl. The old family estate, abandoned and engulfed in whispers of despair, echoed memories of laughter now long silenced. He had always felt an inexplicable aversion to it. To step inside would mean facing not only the shadows but the weight of his lineage's choices. A low rumbling sound erupted from the depths, pulling at Ethan's gut. Was it regret, fear, or something darker that beckoned him closer? He could not let Rosa suffer because of him. The thought ignited a spark of resolve. He couldn't let fear win. Would you rather run and pretend it doesn't exist? The man mocked, leaning closer until his breath mingled with the still air. Or will you take the first step into the world you've tried to escape? Ethan swallowed hard, stifling the quiver in his voice. I'll go. I'll go to the house. Then prepare yourself, Ethan. The man's eyes glinted with a dangerous excitement. Everything you've ever known will shatter. Truths hidden for generations will claw their way to the surface, and the shadows lurking behind your name will demand their due. With that, the weight of his decision settled into place, grounding him. His heart raced, but this time it felt different. A sense of determination surged within him, igniting the air around them. Ethan turned fully toward the door, the path ahead illuminated by fleeting flickers of light trying to break through. He could feel the shadows tightening around him, whispering of dangers to come, but he pressed forward. Save her, he heard again, like a ghostly echo riding the wind. He dashed into the uncertain light and stepped through the threshold, crossing the boundary between fear and truth. As the door clicked shut behind him, a heavy silence enveloped the space. The air was thick, suffocating, yet strangely electrifying, as if charged with potential, and then, from somewhere deep within the estate, a whisper beckoned. Welcome home. Ethan faltered, dread creeping back in. What worse things lurked behind those walls? What unspeakable truths awaited him? He took a deep breath, anchoring his resolve. In this new realm of obscurity, he could either discover the keys to salvation or fall deeper into the abyss. Which fate would find him first? Ethan stood still, every nerve in his body on high alert. The words lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. Welcome home. The voice had been soft yet insistent, like a gentle push inviting him deeper into the unknown. He glanced around, taking in the dilapidated surroundings. The once grand entrance was steeped in shadows, the walls cracking with age, their surfaces marred by time. The air tasted stale, like old books long abandoned. Still, there was something intoxicating about the air, a sense of history that clawed at his instincts. That he stepped further inside, the floorboards creaking beneath his weight like an old whisper sharing secrets. Each step echoed in the silence, reminding him of the dreadful loneliness that had engulfed this place. And yet, his heart surged with hope because he was here for her. Rosa, he breathed, the name a prayer against the darkness that surrounded him. Ethan's gaze fell to the ground, a dust-covered path sprawled ahead, leading into the shadows. He could either succumb to the overwhelming dread or forge ahead, battling against the invisible forces that sought to chase him away. He took a deep breath and started forward. The shadows seemed to shift as he moved, stretching towards him like desperate fingers trying to pull him back. He quickened his pace, the thudding of his heart drumming a rhythm of urgency. Each passing moment felt like a countdown to an inevitable revelation. As he turned a corner, the remnants of a grand hallway unfolded before him. With ornate frames housing faded portraits that watched over him like guardians, he felt a mixture of awe and dread. Each face held stories, hopes, dreams, better days long gone. One in particular caught his eye, a woman with piercing eyes and a faint smile, so strikingly similar to Rosa. A chill crept down his spine. Was this an ancestor? A piece of the puzzle he needed to solve? Suddenly, a crash echoed through the hallway, breaking the stillness like a gunshot. Ethan felt every muscle in his body tense. His instincts screamed at him to run, but he couldn't retreat. Not now. Not with Rosa's fate hanging precariously in the balance. Hello. He called, his voice shaking as it bounced off the walls. Silence met his words, swallowing them whole. The darkness seemed complete, yet the area around him felt oddly alive. Shadows flickered across the walls, playful yet sinister, feeding off his desperation. What were they hiding? Ethan stepped cautiously into the next room, heart thrumming wildly. The sudden shift in temperature made him shiver, and he exhaled loudly, his breath forming a visible cloud in front of him. He reached for the nearest light switch but hesitated. What if the light brought something worse? With a deep breath, he decided. Turning, he flipped the switch. The illumination revealed a parlor, dust motes floating lazily in the beams of light. But there, on the wall across from him, hung a mirror. As he stepped closer, his reflection wasn't the only thing that stared back at him. A figure stood behind him, shrouded in darkness, watching silently. Ethan whipped around, eyes wide, but there was nothing, just empty air and the echo of his own panicked breaths. Had he imagined it? No, not again. Show yourself. He shouted into the nothingness, anger surging through him. And then it came, the whisper, closer this time, curling around him like smoke. You must uncover the truth or lose them forever. Panic clawed at his chest as he glanced back at the mirror. Did it hold answers, or was it merely a trick of the cursed estate? Ethan's resolve surged. He couldn't back down. Not now. He needed to confront whatever darkness waited for him ahead. He scanned the room, searching for anything that would point him in the right direction. The air grew colder, thickening around him as the whisper intensified, filling his head with images of broken promises, shattered dreams, and twisted family trees. He felt himself spiraling with each revelation. As he reached for the mirror's ornate frame, the energy shifted, and the reflection distorted, showing not only his face but the haunting visage of the figure from before, smiling at him with a twisted glee. What was he chose to uncover next? In this realm of shadows, what would he find? Time was running out. Could he truly face the darkness, or would he forsake his chance at saving her? Ethan's heart raced as he stared into the distorted mirror. The figure grinned, an unsettling knowing in its eyes that sent chills spiraling down his spine. There was something deeply malevolent about that smile. It felt mockingly familiar, as if the shadows had conspired to amplify his worst fears. Hadn't he come here to find Rosa? To save her from whatever nightmare clutched at her existence? He turned away from the mirror, prying his gaze from the abyss. The parlor felt heavier now, almost suffocating in its silence. What did the whisper mean? Uncover the truth. He couldn't afford to misinterpret it. Ethan scanned the room again, desperately searching for clues. The furniture was draped in layers of dust, like time had forgotten this space. Yet, a small desk in the corner caught his eye. It looked out of place, too pristine amid the decay. A flicker of hope ignited within him as he approached it. Rubbing away the dust, he revealed an ornate box. Its surface was carved with swirling patterns and symbols he couldn't decipher. His hands trembled as he opened it, revealing a collection of old letters tied neatly with a faded blue ribbon. They had a sense of urgency about them, almost begging to be read. With shaking fingers, he untied the ribbon and pulled out the top letter. The handwriting was delicate, almost quivering on the page. As he deciphered the words, dread pooled in his stomach. It was a love letter, passionate and desperate. It spoke of a forbidden romance, a union deemed unacceptable by unsympathetic family members. Without a last name signed, it was damning in its ambiguity. Ethan's pulse quickened. Was one of these letters from Rosa? His mind spun with possibilities. Maybe her ancestors were tied to this estate in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. He turned to the next letter. His breath hitched as he read that it wasn't solely about love. It detailed threats, claiming knowledge of dark family secrets buried deep within the walls. Each inked line he read seemed to unravel larger threads of a dark history that tainted this place, but before he could delve deeper, a sharp crack echoed through the room, louder this time, relentless. It felt like a warning. And with it, the shadows in the corners appeared to stretch, creeping closer, tightening their grip around him. No, not now, Ethan whispered, voice barely audible. His heart thundered as he shoved the letters into his pocket, caught in a frantic struggle to make sense of it all. The air buzzed around him as he gripped the desk for support. Was the estate alive, aware of him rummaging through its secrets? Or had he unwittingly unleashed something far darker by choosing to seek the truth? He turned to leave, but in the doorway stood the figure again, the dark silhouette half illuminated by the fading light, its smile widening. Ethan's breath hitched in his throat. Panic surged. What did it want? What was its purpose? Stop! He shouted, voice cracking. What do you want from me? The figure stepped closer, melding into the shadows, words curling like smoke. You're closer than you realize, but can you handle the truth? Ethan's legs felt like lead, rooting him to the spot. He needed to escape. Yet, he also knew running wouldn't solve anything. Not anymore. That moment, beneath the weight of despair and dread, a thought crossed his mind. Could the letters help him understand the malevolent force behind this shadowy figure? With the figure still hovering in the doorway, he stood frozen between flight and discovery, the eerie tension in the air palpable. What awaited him in the depths of this ancient estate? What truly happened here? A floorboard groaned ominously beneath him, pulling him from his thoughts like a cold wind. The shadows beckoned. Time to find out whatever secrets lay waiting to be uncovered. He drew a deep breath, ready for the plunge into darkness. Would the truth free him or bind him forever? Ethan stood still, the air around him thick with tension. He could feel the figure's gaze boring into him, as if it could peel back his very skin and delve into the secrets of his soul. He swallowed hard, every instinct screaming at him to turn and flee. The letters in his pocket felt like a burning weight, taunting him with mysteries he was sure he was ready to face. The figure stepped away from the doorway, its form elongating as it moved into the dim light. With every step, it appeared more human and less like a mere shadow. You seek the truth, yet fear it still, it murmured, voice dripping with a strange mixture of mockery and allure. But truth can be a double-edged sword, Ethan. What are you? He forced out, his voice stronger than he felt. What do you want from me? I want you to understand, it whispered, every syllable heavy with an unsettling promise. Only then can you save her. Ethan's heart fluttered. Rosa. The reason he had come to this cursed place, the one he couldn't shake from his mind. Tell me how. He demanded, lightning flickering in his tone. The figure tilted its head, a knowing smile spreading across its face. Follow the letters. They will guide you to the truth, but beware, some truths are better left buried. Fear and determination tangled inside Ethan, making it hard to breathe. Had the darkness of this estate already seeped into his mind, twisting his thoughts? Yet, he couldn't leave without knowing what lay beneath the surface. He took a step toward the shadow, heart pounding audibly in the silence. Show me. In a flash, the room contorted, the air swirling like a storm brewing. The walls twisted and shifted, revealing the dusty interior of the estate spiraling away. Ethan felt disoriented, caught in a vortex that seemed to bleed into another time. As the surrounding chaos faded, he found himself transported to what looked like a grand ballroom, opulent and drenched in golden light. Couples twirled in elegant attire, their laughter echoing like whispers from a long-forgotten past. But there was something off-kilter in the way they moved, as if choreographed by an unseen hand. The laughter turned sinister, and he caught glimpses of dark eyes peeking through masks. Shadows loomed in corners, lurking just beyond the light. Before he could fully grasp the scene, he was pushed forward into the midst of the swirling dancers, their expressions suddenly turning cold. The glimmer of a familiar face caught his eye, a young woman standing apart, her gaze fixated on him. Rosa. Ethan. She cried, her voice desperate and broken, shattering the illusion. The world around them cracked like glass, distorted and frayed at the edges. Help me. He lunged forward, reaching for her, but was met with an invisible barrier that repelled him like a tide pulling away from the shore. Rosa. He cried, panic choking his voice. The ballroom shattered around him, fragments of reality breaking apart, revealing the grim shadows once more. Time to decide, echoed the figure's voice, now enveloping him from every side. Will you accept the truth? Or will you let it consume you? Ethan felt his chest tighten. The weight of the letters in his pocket became unbearable, driving him to the brink of madness. Could seeking the truth save Rosa, or would it unearth secrets buried so deep they could tear him apart? With the echoes of her voice still ringing in his ears, he made his choice, drawing the letters from his pocket, prepared to confront whatever darkness lay ahead. Would he uncover the truth waiting in the shadows or fall victim to the estate's twisted secrets? A chilling wind raced through the room, carrying whispers of the past. As Ethan gripped the letters, an urgent realization struck him: somewhere within those pages lay more than just words. There was something lurking, something that could bind them all together. What have I unleashed? He whispered, an unsettling chill creeping down his spine as the shadows thickened, closing in once more. Could he face what lay ahead? Or had he already stepped too far into the darkness? Ethan gripped the letters tighter, knuckles whitening under pressure. The shadows curled around him, breathing life into his deepest fears. There was no turning back. Rosa needed him, and if unearthing the truth meant facing his family's ghosts, so be it. He opened the first letter again, heart pounding like a war drum. The words seemed to pulse with an energy of their own, a history begging to be told. I cannot bear this burden any longer. The secrets will destroy us if we do not speak the truth. Your mother, she is intertwined with the dark legacy of this family. Ethan's breath hitched. His mother? The woman who left him questions and pain, who had always seemed too distant. What did you do? He whispered, feeling the shadows around him contract at his sorrow. He could almost hear a mocking laughter echoing in the recesses of his mind. That he read on, the trembling ink detailing forbidden affairs, commitments broken under the weight of family obligation. Each revelation sliced deeper, revealing layers of deceit and betrayal woven into the fabric of his lineage. Names he didn't recognize, bloodlines tangled and ensnared. The realization washed over him like icy water. Is this what Rosa feared? He thought, glancing down some hidden corridor, expecting to see her shadow flitting by. He moved to the second letter, the scrawled words weaving a dark tapestry about his family's past. The curse is not merely loss, it's manipulation of hearts. It festers, it grows. Beware the one who lurks in the shadows. The letter became a cold weight in his heart, calling back the haunting figure who had pressured him. Was that woman the source of this sinister legacy? Stop! A voice erupted from inside him. Rosa was somewhere in this maze, the home she had kept unknown to him. A heavy responsibility settled on his shoulders, tightening, suffocating in its insistence. He had to pull her back from the brink, to shield her from danger that wanted to claim her. His resolve hardened. He couldn't let the shadows twist what was left of his heart. Not while he still had a chance. He sprang to his feet, fueled by sheer determination. Show yourself. He shouted, the words a challenge returning to the depths of darkness. From the swirling shadows emerged the figure who had tormented him, its smile darker now, more predatory. You're beginning to grasp it, aren't you? The truth exists to ensnare you. Return here, and you can keep everything you hold dear. Your lies won't ensnare me, Ethan spat, fueled by a fire ignited from within. I'm not afraid of what you are. I'm here to save Rosa. With those words, a sudden bright light surged forth from behind him. The letters in his hands pulsed as if resonating powerfully with the truth hidden inside him. The room trembled, and the spectral presence before him faltered. Enough. The figure screamed, shadows rippling and dissolving, a tempest of energy threatened to swell. In that moment, he understood, the truth was a weapon, and it was his to wield. He would not let family bonds shackle him but instead would transform them. Rosa! He shouted into the churning darkness, heart racing. I will find you. He took a step forward, trusting the power he now wielded. The shadows began to retreat, fading back against the walls. He felt their grip loosen as if they were terrified of him confronting the very heart of the curse. Keep moving, a whisper echoed through the chamber, guiding him deeper inside the estate's core. Ethan sprinted through dimly lit hallways, his own resolve illuminating the path ahead. Then, just as he steeled his determination, he burst through another door. There she was, Rosa. Bound, her wrists trapped by chains of shadow, eyes wide with both fear and recognition. Ethan. Her voice trembled in the silence. No. He yelled, rushing toward her. He ripped the chains from her, shadows crumbling beneath the intensity of his resolve. Rosa fell into him, arms wrapping tightly. "Ethan, it's too late," she pleaded, looking around the room, shadows still clawing at the edges. "We're too far gone." "No." He cupped her face in his hands, locking eyes. "We're not cursed. You and I can break this. But we need to reveal the truth together." She shook her head, tears glimmering in her dark eyes. "The price, Ethan. The price will be too high." "I don't care," he exclaimed, voice rising above the swirling tempest. "I would rather lose everything than lose you." With that promise, he felt the room shift, the dark energy coiling tighter around. But he ignited a spark in their joined hands, drawing on the letters buried in his pocket. "I choose to fight for our future." The light flared, blinding, and the shadows recoiled as if the truth had become a weapon, a savior. The presence re-emerged, rage surging like a tidal wave. "You think you can rewrite destiny? You will pay for this." The figure crackled, furious energy pulsating. "Not on my watch," Ethan declared, heart racing. He felt Rosa's strength intertwining with his, and suddenly he understood, they were bound not just by blood, but by something much deeper. Together, they unleashed the truth, a fierce wave of radiant energy that cut through the darkness around them. It shattered the chains that bound Rosa and sent the shadows spiraling into chaos. As light flooded the room, the figure let out an enraged scream, the shadows dissipating. The darkness boiled and twisted, losing power, losing its grip. Returning to the mansion, the air shifted, settling with peace for the first time. Ethan held on to Rosa, both of them trembling with exhaustion and relief. They had done it. They had faced down a darkness that threatened to swallow their lives whole and emerged victorious. Outside, the sun broke free from a shroud of clouds, casting warm rays down upon Alder Creek again. The mansion stood resolute, though the heaviness that clung to it had lifted. Ethan turned to Rosa, who smiled through misty eyes, hope rekindled. "We can rebuild, Ethan. Together." And he knew, in that moment, he was ready to face whatever came next. You need to subscribe now to catch the next thrilling chapter in Ethan and Rosa's journey. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to keep the story alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and hair-raising theories about what comes next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to discover this wild conclusion. Let's keep the excitement rolling.